You are listening to Co-Create Your Life. In this podcast, we delve deep into the law of attraction, dispel common misconceptions, and give our listeners the tools they need to build a magical, purposeful existence in their everyday lives. Reclaim the creative power you already possess and join us at co-creationcoaching.org/create. That's co-creationcoaching.org/create.
Welcome to Co-Create Your Life. This is episode 29. Are you allowing yourself to receive gifts from the universe? I am Brandon Oliveris.
And I'm Christine Oliveris.
And I'm Justin Williams.
And today we are talking about the concept of acceptance. And we talked about this a little bit a lot in the Creator Circle, but I have sort of a different way I want to talk about this a little bit that I've been mulling over. And it also has to do with, the things I've been discussing in the blog post, with especially the third level emotions. And I'll describe how that is soon too. But before we get to any of that, some announcements first. If you would like to see the show notes for this episode, you can go to co-creationcoaching.org/create029. So before we get to anything, we have our usual segment, Quote of the Week. And this quote actually comes from the I Ching, which I'm pretty excited about. I saw this quote and it was one of those that's perfect for what I want to talk about. So So this week's quote is, "Genius is the ability to receive from the universe." I like that a lot.
Me too.
That's awesome. I love it. So receiving from the universe is what all this is about. And I've been talking a lot lately about trust in the universe. And this is actually a slight bit different from that, but it's similar. But trust in the universe, kind of letting go to the universe, that kind of stuff. So this is around this, along the same lines, I guess, but receiving from the universe and accepting the manifestation. So I'll kind of go over what we discussed in the Creator Circle the other day first, and then we can go from there, because I did expand on that kind of in my own meditations and whatnot. So in case you didn't listen to the Creator Circle the other day, what we were discussing was the concept of acceptance, and basically the fact that, whenever you ask for a manifestation, it's done. I mean, it's out there, right? And I do, believe in being persistent. We talked about the greatest key is persistence a few weeks ago. But once you put it out there, and especially the more you put it out there, once you plant that seed, is one of the metaphors I use, it's growing, it's done. Okay, that manifestation is actively trying to find a pathway to you. And so to me, the most important part after that's done, after you've put it out there, after you've planted that seed, is learning how to accept it. And that's a lot more difficult than I thought it would be, because I realized for myself that when I am trying to bring myself to the place of accepting this manifestation, like saying, okay, the universe has this, and I am going to accept it into my life, that is a bit difficult. It becomes a little bit difficult. So it's about, are you allowing yourself to receive it? Are you allowing the universe to give that to you? And like I said, I think a lot of people have trouble with that for some reason. I'm not really exactly sure why, but I'm in the same kind of boat.
Yeah, we all have trouble.
And yeah, it's difficult sometimes. But, the fact is that all that our job is after we put it out there is simply to receive it, simply to accept it. And I think it comes down to an egoic thing, where egoically we really want to try and force and make it happen and perform all these actions and do all the stuff, that we think we have to do to get that to work. But what it comes down to is relaxing into it, trusting, letting go, accepting, receiving, all those sort of soft, gentle, flowing words, going with the flow. so that it just comes into your life. And I know for me, and I tell my clients this all the time because I always have to remind them of this, is that if you find yourself struggling against life, if you find yourself pushing against it to try to get your manifestation, it's not going to work. But the moment I convince them or convince myself to relax and just let it happen, it happens. So, and I've experienced this over and over and over again in my life. It's something I've experienced my whole life, even before I knew what the law of attraction was, that, if I was freaking out about something, it wasn't going to work out. And once I let go, everything started working. So the conversation I want to bring this into is what I'm going to call the receptive mode. And this is a term I kind of thought of it when I was thinking over this concept today. It is a term I think Abraham uses also, but I'm going to take it a bit farther than I think they generally discuss it. So the receptive mode is being in that mode where you're easily able to receive.
That
Okay,
is
I know it
so
sounds
hard.
It is really hard.
And
It is really hard.
Yeah, and the other thing that really helps, it's just me, is kind of knowing what I'm wanting to receive. I don't know how, like, what path am I
Yeah.
on so that I know what it looks like, so that, like, okay, I had 2 or 3 things pass me by recently that I just knew wasn't for me, so I didn't bother with it.
Sure,
So
yeah.
then there's the thing I'm looking for. Okay, that's what I want to accept right there.
Right. Yep. What were you gonna say?
I was at prayer group last night, and we have a time where we pray for people, and this guy wanted to be prayed for, and he has sleep apnea really bad, and the mask doesn't work for him, and those mouth guard things don't work because his teeth are broken. And so, we prayed for him to have a solution, but I told him pretty much, Brendan, what you say. I said, you need to accept this because this is a gift for you.
Right.
And I said, I want you to say, I accept this healing and mean it. And I think that touched him because, and people don't realize, it's like, we could do all the praying or all the whatever energy work we want, but if you're not going to accept it, well, you're wasting time.
Right. Yeah, and I think we kind of sit around trying to convince the universe or God, like, hey, give this thing to me. I really want this thing. Why won't you
Well,
give it
that's
to me?
not
And
what it is.
we get mad and, why are you doing this? Why are you keeping it from me? We're keeping it from ourselves.
Right, exactly.
And so this is why I'm talking about the receptive mode. And, one kind of affirmation or mantra I've been using in my own meditations and when I'm doing manifestation techniques is I'll just sit there and say, I accept this manifestation into my life. I accept this into my life.
That's
and
what I made him do. Except,
say it, yeah. I say it over and over again until I really feel it, until I really feel that I am in this open receiving place. So this receptive mode is quite simply remaining in this open, gentle, soft flowing place where you are open and ready to receive, not trying to force. And it's an experiential thing where I can't tell you exactly how you're there. Sort of like when I would talk about the zero state before. And this is not the zero state. This is not the same thing necessarily. Zero state's a little different from this. But it's hard to really tell you, here's how you're there.
Yeah.
It's experiential. All I can tell you is if you're forcing life, if you're struggling against life and you're trying to make things happen and you're trying to act and you're feeling stressed, that's not it. I had a client yesterday and she was saying basically, I'm just tired of all this. I feel so stressed. I'm tired of having to, do all this work. And I said, this shouldn't be work. This shouldn't be work. It should be easy. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't issues, there aren't struggles, there isn't resistance you have to work through, but this shouldn't be work. If you feel like it's work, you're not doing it right. You're pushing against it. Okay? And a lot of people, I think, feel like that because I've heard people say, oh, I've been doing this for months, or I've been doing this for years. I'm just so tired of pushing. I'm just so tired of fighting against it. So, well, then stop. Why are you doing it?
Yeah, at that point, it's time to take another approach. I mean, you can't keep running uphill the whole time.
Right. Like, why do you keep doing this if that's not what you're supposed to do? You're not supposed to fight against it. But we have this feeling we are the sole person responsible for holding it all together, right? You ever meet one of those people that feel that it just they believe it's down to them to hold everything together, to hold all of life together? You know what I mean? Like, my mother is sort of like that.
Oh God.
That was rough.
Yeah. Where, she feels like she has to hold everything together, and then she gets stressed. And why does everyone rely on me? Well, because you sort of put yourself there.
Yep.
So, this receptive mode is a place of openness, of peace, of, receptivity, not to be redundant, of flow, of just feeling that openness within yourself. And once you feel it, you can kind of get back there. There's not like a series of steps of getting there. It's just sort of something you do. But once you feel it, and you can expand that openness and say, okay, I'm going to be in this openness, this place of openness and receptivity, and just allow my manifestation to happen. And if I feel stress inside myself, I'm going to release it. Okay. And that's a big part of this is, when you're working, I always emphasize when you're doing your manifestations, your manifestation techniques, you know, don't, don't try to stress it. Like I said, if you feel stress inside of yourself, you want to release it. So one thing I always stress, or one thing I always focus on, is no pun intended. One thing I always focus on and emphasize is this is all about energy,
Oh yeah.
right? And I think people miss this, and I try to emphasize it, but it's sort of, I feel like a lot of people kind of just don't really pay attention to it. But it's all about energy. You have to know where the energy is flowing, where it is now, where it's going, and how to get to the next step. Okay? So when you feel this openness inside, you know that the energy is flowing and you're going in the right direction. When you feel stress inside yourself, struggle inside yourself, desperation, wanting, that kind of stuff, when you feel those feelings, you know that you're pushing against something. You have to release those feelings. And so I encourage, 100% 24 hours a day self-awareness, where you know what you're feeling inside your energy system, and you are able to release it whenever it starts to get a bit stressful, whenever you start to feel that anxiety and that stress. And immediately when it starts to crop up, you say, no, 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 this is not what I want. And you release that.
Yeah, because remember, for your manifestations, you can play with the energy. You can make it anything you want, and then just accept it into yourself. And it's almost, I don't want to say a game, but you can really do it
Right.
like that. And
Sure.
then the energy will actually stay with you. You don't have to meditate real hard and force these images, and you can actually just play around with it. And then
Exactly.
it's easier, actually makes it easy to accept, at least for me. I just kind of started really, really using that trick.
Sure. Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier to it's pure energy. It's not even,
It's pure energy.
you're going right past the emotional guidance system. You're just
Exactly.
messing around with it. You actually even separate it out from the emotions.
Yep.
And then the emotions, of course, they'll be in there, but they're definitely separate. You can feel it. Then you just accept the energy. And then it just formulates itself. I mean, it really works.
Exactly. So if you could get to the place of purely dealing with manifestations on an energetic level, you could do all this a lot more easily. You wouldn't have to worry about techniques because it would all just be obvious. Oh, the energy is stuck here, so I'm going to release that. It's flowing pretty well here, so that I'm just going to, let that keep going. Not flowing fast enough here, so I'm going to put more focus on that so it flows faster. And things like that, because you have an intuitive sense of where the energy is going, right? So you don't really need to do techniques, because techniques are just when you don't have that intuitive sense. Okay, so when you have that intuitive sense, you can flow with it so much more and know exactly where it needs to go and what exactly needs to happen. Right. So, um, receptivity, this receptive mode, to me, I want to bring kind of a different concept into it. For me, is a place of magic, almost, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place of going with the flow, as I said. But when you're in this place, just synchronicities start happening. Your requests, your manifestations start being answered almost instantaneously, especially the current level goals. Um, Things just start happening. When you keep yourself in this receptive mode, you just notice awesome things start happening more. It's this magical place where the things work together always to bring you more and more happiness and more joy. That's the receptive mode. It's this place of magic and flow and ease and happiness, that everything just keeps working out for you. And it's little things. It doesn't have to be big things like, you get $10,000 out of the blue. I mean, that could happen. What I mean is just little things, just everyday small little things,
Little miracles.
That's
little
how you know
miracles.
it's working. Actually,
Right,
that's actually almost the only way to get the big stuff to work.
right,
You can't. It's hard to just jump in there. You can do it, if but it's hard to jump in there and just do just the big stuff. I mean, you can do it. There are people that do it and do it successfully, but you really know it's working when a lot of little things just sort of happen. And your roads that are already open, the people and then the places are sort of just things are coming from those areas. And you go, oh, okay,
exactly.
I don't know, just like football tickets whenever you want, or
Right,
something
exactly.
small,
Yeah,
just small stuff. I mean, I just threw
right.
that out there as an example.
No, of course. So it's a place of magic. It's everything flows there. I mean, I have countless examples of things like that happening, and I think Christine, you've had that too, haven't you?
What, of just everything going the right way? Well, my job is an
Yeah,
example. I don't know how that happened. That just was out of the blue.
sure. But I mean, like little everyday things. You know
I
what I mean?
manifest food very well.
You manifest food, yeah, you
I am
do.
a food manifester.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
true, huh?
And I've
Yeah,
had,
she's
like,
great at manifesting food.
when I was in college, like, everything would just go the right way. Like, when I needed someone to help me with something, they were right there, usually.
Yep,
Or if I
yep,
wanted someone to sit with in the cafeteria, I think I unknowingly manifested because I'd walk in and go, Lord, please help me find someone to sit with. Thank you. And I would. But I was confident because I knew, and it always would happen.
yeah,
That is
right,
so cool. That is
yeah,
great. Actually, I gotta. Yeah.
oh yeah. So things just happen when you're in this receptive mode. And I'd suggest living in that place as much as possible because it just everything works out. And why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? So it's just an awesome place. I'll give it's a silly little example. So yesterday I got this. I was tired of sounding like I was talking in a tin can every time I
I
was
like that
recording
sound,
something.
though.
I hate that sound. It sounds like I'm in like a big empty room or something. My office is not that big. And so I was tired of that. So I found this like portable sound booth thingy, voice booth, they call it. It's like this box with foam panels on the side, basically. You put your microphone inside of it. And so I got that yesterday and I tried it, but it was like I'm really tall. And it was like my mouth was like at the top edge of it. And I'm like, it'd be awesome if I could prop this thing up somehow. So I'm looking around and I can't find it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to prop it. And then I remember I have a big ream of printer paper in one of my shelves here. And I'm like, oh, that'd be perfect. It's perfect thickness. I put that underneath of it, and it raised it up just enough that I don't have to like double over to
I could have
talk
given you that
inside.
box that's out here, too.
Yeah, but I didn't want to. That's bulky, and it's not that wide.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's narrow and long. I didn't want to try to balance this on top of that. So and that might have been too high, honestly. I just
Probably.
needed like an inch or two is all I needed.
Yeah.
And so the printer paper was perfect.
So if you need
But that
printer
was just
paper, you're screwed. I'm just kidding.
the box isn't heavy. I'll just
That's
lift it
true.
off and take the piece of paper out and put it back on. But that was like it just kind of popped in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, and I got it out, and then Christine thought the cat was messing with something because I was rustling around in here, and because the paper's inside this plastic thing. I'm like,
Well,
nope, just
that's what that
reorganizing.
plastic was.
That's what that was. And she keeps like, Kitty! She's yelling at the cat. I'm like, at first I'm just ignoring it. Like, well, I don't know why she's yelling at the cat. And then I realized every time I did that, she'd yell at the cat. I'm like, so that's me.
But you're a cat. We didn't know this?
Yeah.
You didn't apologize to the cat? You got to apologize.
Yeah, the cat's hurt now.
Oh, right.
Anyway, but so it was just sort of a spur of the moment like idea that just popped in my head. Like, oh yeah, that'd be perfect. So
and that happens like that a lot.
I've had stuff like that happen to me too.
Sure. It's just little things. It's a silly little example, but it's just little things like that things just work out, and it's perfect.
Hopefully that will happen because I have to do a wedding next week. I've never done a wedding in my life. So
Well, again, yeah, I mean, like I said, I find that when, if I'm panicking, I talked about the ring example, the ring story the other day. And I feel like I've retold that enough times now, but
it's in your repertoire.
I find that when I am panicking about something, it doesn't work. And then the moment I relax about it and just say, you know what, it's going to work out. The moment I do that, it does.
That's what I'm trying to do because it's going to be like,
yeah,
that's all right.
So, that's just something that happens. So I would recommend, and I try to do this myself, but trying to stay in that receptive mode, especially in regards to manifestations, not necessarily in every area of life, although if you can do it all together, it's awesome. But trying to stay there as much as possible, that way things just start working out, and realizing that you can't get your thing, you can't get your manifestation as long as you are trying to force it, as long as you are trying to make it happen and struggle and egoically like push your way through and put in all this effort, and that's not going to work. You have to let go. You have to, kind of be in this receptive space. So what I want to focus on is not creating, but receiving. Okay? I think that's a really important distinction to make. Mm-hmm. We do create when, the moment we focus on something, the moment we say, I would like this money, I would like this relationship, I would like this job, I would like this, this health goal, whatever. The moment you start focusing on that, you're creating it with your focus. You're creating it with your persistent focus. Mm-hmm. But, when you drop that, you don't have to do anything here. So what I want to tell you, and I want everyone to pay extreme attention to this, it's very important, is that, okay, so you focus persistently. I tell everyone, try to focus at least once or twice a day. Okay, I'm not always great about that. I do like every few days sometimes, but as much as possible, to a limit. I mean, you don't want to do all day. I had someone recently say they did affirmations for 2 hours. I'm like, why would you do affirmations for 2 hours?
That. Hope you're doing affirmations for different stuff.
Like throughout the day. It would be like throughout the day, and I'm like, well, how long in total? They're like, maybe 2 hours. Don't do 2 hours. But, within reason, like up to a few times a day. But persistently focus. Now, what that does is it creates your manifestation on the coming from the first to the second level of manifestation, which is from the soul or spirit level into the mind level. When you're focusing on it and then letting it go, you're creating it on that mind level. Mm-hmm. That's, those first two levels, and I cover this a lot more in the Art of Reality Creation 3.0 class, which is still open for signups, by the way. But those first two levels have to do with the universe. The second two levels, emotions and matter, or the physical, has to do with you. That's the microcosm. So the first part of the manifestation is you putting it out there, you persistently focusing, you planting that goal seed and saying, this is what I want. But after you've done that, your only job is to create a pathway for the manifestation to find its way to your life. And creating a pathway that sounds difficult, all it is being in that receptive mode where you can just be open and receive it.
So anything that you guys will do to physically do it, you're just, anything you need to do to make it happen physically, all you have to do is allow your inspiration to guide you.
Yes,
Just, I want to write this book. Okay, well, just, you know, let those
exactly.
chapters come to you bit by bit. Don't
Yeah,
don't
right,
try to force it or anything else. You
right.
know,
The moment you start stressing about it, stop and just say, okay, I can't stress. That's not receiving. That's, me. So you can't act on this physical level to try to make it happen. You can only act to allow it to happen or to do something that you're inspired to do, which opens a doorway for it to enter your world, but you will know when that's time.
and yeah, you want to just make sure that you act off inspiration because you want to kind of do everything efficiently with as little wasted motion as possible.
Exactly.
So, so that there's going to be times when you are going to be stressed, when you have to push through, then you'll have those RPMs ready to go instead of wearing yourself out, and then when when things got away from you and you really have to get that paper turned in or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't have the ability to do it because you've wasted yourself on a bunch of little stuff.
Right. Right. It's about minimal effort.
Maximum efficiency, minimum effort, the old judo maxim.
Yep. Minimal effort, or, as Taoists say, wu wei, the path, wei wu wei, they call it, like the path of non-doing, doing through non-doing.
Did you just say judo,
Yeah.
Justin?
Yeah, the old judo maxim.
I took judo for a while, and it's not really that much. I mean, it is, but you're not overexerting when you bring people down.
Sure.
No, maximum efficiency, minimum effort.
Yep.
You want to be the ghost in the gi.
I was always really
Right.
good at it.
Right. So, you don't want to be struggling with it. And so, like I said, just summarize. You put it out there by focusing on it regularly, by, persistently putting it out there with your focus, visualizing, whatever. But that's just the first part of it. And I mean, you want to keep that up because, you want to keep the energy moving. And as the energy moves, it'll sort of push out and reveal those little ways that you aren't being receptive. Okay, so that's kind of the important part. But your part after you've put it out there to the universe and say, "Hey, universe, this is what I want." Your part is to enter this receptive mode and say, "Okay, I'm here. I'm receptive. I'm open," and to remove any blockages, any stress, any struggle that you find within yourself, any anxiety. So if you say, okay, this is what I want. I want this money. I want this job. I want to start this business. I want these new clients. Whatever, this relationship. And you go within yourself and say, this is what I want. Now, if I focus on this, do I find any stress? If so, let's let that go. How do you let that go? I hate techniques. You just do. You mindfulness. You just relax that energy. You just let it go. There's not really a how about it.
I mean, yeah. I think we said something about the blue sky. I love the clouds in the sky.
Yeah, be the sky, and
Stuff like that.
the
That's a
stressful
great way
thoughts
of
are
doing it.
just the clouds in the sky. But if you find stress inside yourself in whatever form, or that you're struggling, or that you're trying, just let that go and relax into the openness of that receptive mode, and then say, I accept this manifestation into my life fully.
Just like Elsa in Frozen.
Let it go.
When you sing that, yeah, and all her magic just pours out.
Yeah. So I accept this manifestation into my life fully. And when you can really do that and feel it without reservation, that's when you're there. And you just keep doing that, and it's practically done. It's practically done. There's nothing you have to do besides that. And if you're inspired to action, you take that action. But action never comes from a place of struggle or fear or trying or effort. That's not where action comes from. Action is usually one quick thing you do, and it's just It's just done.
Mm-hmm.
And,
You know?
yeah. And another thing I'll do is ask, my spiritual team, okay, how do I get these things to happen? And sometimes the order of the actions will just be strange, but you know what? It always works.
Right, and you're inspired to. It doesn't feel like work, it's just something you do.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you do it. So most of the process, the majority of the process is about receiving, accepting, not doing. There's not really any part of this process that's about doing. It's focus and choosing and then trusting and letting go and receiving and accepting. Okay, I guess you could say accepting and receiving, because if you've received it, you don't have to accept it anymore. But so focusing and choosing, trusting and letting go, and accepting and receiving, and that's the pathway in a nutshell. And none of that is doing or struggling or trying. None of that is hard, is it? So that's really the pathway. And if you find yourself doing anything besides those things, then you're off the path. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it happens, but you're off the path. So get back on the path, start doing that, and you'll get there. Right? So that's really about all there is. And like I said, I mean, to me, it feels like a gift from the universe. Like every time I get something, even if it's small, it just feels like a gift. Like, oh, here you go. Here's this thing I know you'd really like. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you feel, Justin, but to me, it just feels like a gift. It's weird.
I'll say thank you, but I've never thought of it as a gift, more of as like we're all connected. So it's just sort of
Sure.
part of the flow.
Sure.
Like abundance. You reach your hands out to each side and you just have abundance. That's kind of how I've thought of it. I've never quite thought of it as gifts. Sometimes I think I have when it's a miracle and you kind of need it. That was a gift. You know what I mean? But mostly I just thought of it as just happening in flow. But that's the martial arts training that I've been in. So that's probably why.
To me,
I'm just flowing with my I'm just dancing with my opponent. I'm just dancing with my path. Something like that. I don't know.
To me, it feels like a gift. It feels like this thing has entered into my life. It's
really personal.
Like it's a co-creation. It's I do my part and then I receive and it just enters into my life. Like, wow, that's perfect. And I thank you. And you just can't help but be grateful for that. I think that's really important to be grateful for once it has come. Being grateful for that and like this is perfect, and just the perfect ways that it works out is so amazing sometimes that it really blows you away sometimes. So to me, it really does feel like a gift, and I think it helps to see it in that way, because then it's something you're just receiving. You're not doing anything besides focusing, trusting, accepting, and that's about it. And so it's not through your effort or through your action or through anything like that. It's just a gift that enters into your life.
Yep.
And makes it better. So I hope that makes sense. I think I explained that slightly better than I did in the creator circle, but like I said, it kind of expanded itself in my own mind over the last few days. So that was, but I hope that makes sense. And, I think it's a very important topic to be able to know where you are on this path, and to be able to focus on entering that place of receptivity, that receptive mode, and just remaining there. So once again, if you would like to see the show notes for this podcast, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/create029. And if you'd like to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or to rate or review us, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/create-iTunes. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And with that, I am Brandon Oliveris.
And I'm Christina Oliveris.
And I'm Justin Williams.
Anything is possible.